Theatrephonic presents A Pickle. Written and directed by Emmeline Braefield, based on the life experiences of Anthony Young.
Oh! 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 Ah! Oh! Oh dear. Oh, I'm in a pickle. Who put that manhole there? Hello? 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 Oh, thank goodness I'm not hurt. That would really be a problem. I'm just stuck. Oh, there's no signal here either. Hello? Is there anyone there? Of course there's no one to help out. Do you know, I could do with Mrs. Beard right now. She was ever so helpful the time that bloke rear-ended me at the crossroads. Well, that's a dangerous bit of road, that is. I was taking it ever so carefully, looking left and right so many times, took the window down and listened and everything. Then, the moment I do pull out into the road, some idiot comes flying around the corner and smashes into me, shoving me across the road. But the weird thing is that as I was slowly gliding across the road to my doom, the first thought that came into my mind was, oh no, my kidneys. Once I'd come to a stop and managed to get out of the van, I went round the house of lovely Mrs. Beard to use her phone. This was before mobiles, you see. She said, oh, you must have a cup of tea, you're terribly shook up. Which I was. Well, luckily, my kidneys were okay, as was the rest of me. Not the van, though. That was a write-off. And they had to get me a new one. A few weeks later, I was close to Mrs. Beard's house again, going up a small track that was covered in leaves. My van slid on the leaves and went into a ditch. So I was stuck sideways in this ditch, and then I had to go to Mrs. Beard's to phone again. And she told me to come in for another cup of tea while I waited. The week after, when I had to knock on her door to deliver a parcel, she automatically asked me if she should put the kettle on. Good old Mrs. Beard. Turns out her neighbour was Mr. Shave. Funny that, isn't it? And he was entirely bald. You get a lot of these nice coincidences on a postal route. Like the Friars living next door to the Tucks, and when the birds moved out of number 86, the bees moved in. Went from the birds to the bees. Hello? Hello? Oh dear. I think I'm in a worse situation than I was when I was on the common that time. Oh, that was so silly. I was taking a shortcut across the common. Full of Frisian cows it was. They were lying down, so I was merrily crossing over the grass, thinking about how it might rain. Because that's a rule, isn't it? When cows lie down, it's going to rain. Well, so I've been told. Then, all of a sudden, there was this huge bang. Well, I thought I'd hit one of the cows. I opened the door, and there I was, up in the air, rocking. I thought, oh my God, I'm on top of a cow. I managed to jump down and went round to the front, dreading what I was going to find. Well, it turns out I'd driven onto a massive boulder. The middle of the van was caught on it, and all four wheels were off the ground. I mean, I had no way of getting it off. Eventually, a farmer came over and said, "Oh, I'll have to get me 2 sons to give you a hand with that." There they were, these 2 strapping lads with their dad, and they heaved the van back onto the ground, and on I went on my merry way. And there was no damage done to the van at all. Though I did really damage the van when I drove into the side of a pub once, however. I made a nice dent in the outer plaster of the pub wall. A perfect circle, which was weird. I don't know how I did it. You wouldn't think a post van's bonnet would make a perfect circle in a wall, would you? That's something to be proud of, I suppose. Funny thing is, the pub is called The Plough. I ploughed into the plough and got plastered. And not a drop to drink. The landlady didn't care. She came down in her dressing gown, fag in her mouth, and said it was nothing to do with me, she said. It was the pub owner's problem. And she went back inside. They had to give me another new van after that. I only had that one 3 days before I wedged it into a gatepost while leaving the Royal Mail yard. I'd driven a bit too close to it and got stuck. I mean, I tried to reverse back, but apparently you shouldn't do that. They had to get someone out for it again. I'd wedged it so completely onto the post. My excuse was that I wasn't used to the width of the entrance. Stupid, really. Most recently, I got into a van in the yard, wanting to move it a bit so that I had room to put parcels into the back. I started to go, not realising it was in reverse. One of the workers carrying a massive tray of mail up to my van, and he threw all the letters everywhere trying to get out of the way. Well, I carried on and went into the window of the post office, which caused a bit of damage to the van. The window was okay. Ooh, my manager wasn't pleased. But then, she's never much pleased about anything. Not like my last manager. He always laughed at the pickles I'd get into. Once, I was turning into the driveway of a house, and I misjudged the drive and ended up on their lovely lawn. I phoned the office, and my manager came down in a van along with one of my colleagues who was delivering nearby. They were both trying to get me off the lawn, but the more we tried to get it off, the deeper we'd go into this beautiful grass. While they were trying, I did say to them, "Look, I'm getting a bit behind on my delivery," so I left them to it, while I dropped off letters up the road. Eventually they did pull the van out, and I got in and just drove off. Well, there wasn't anybody in the house to inform, and so I just left it. I don't know whether anybody put a letter through the door to explain. I don't think that they did. So I do feel a bit guilty about that. My first manager was lovely. At Christmas, he would often go off and play Father Christmas at different events. So he was very understanding if I was rehearsing for a play. But you know, they knew how to support their staff back then. Hello? Hello? Once, I got stuck in the snow by this house that was right on the top of a hill. My manager came to tow me out. I mean, that tells you what he's like. But his van slid and got stuck. It was a cold wait for a third van to come to get us. He must have gotten frustrated, but he would always say, "Oh, Pickle, you're going to be the death of me." It's funny how they picked up on the name. I first got called Pickle by my design tech teacher at school. I was so clumsy. I was always making a mess, whether it was with paint or wood or clay. So she called me Pickle. Well, I don't know if I've been given any other nicknames while working here. Well, if I have, they've kept it very quiet. Hello! Hello! Oh, still nobody there. How much longer? Nearly 21 years I've worked here. 21 years. Not my first choice of career. I wanted to be an actor. But I didn't fit in with the actors of the time. You see, it was the era of fame on television. And it was lycra and leg warmers. And I was just a country bumpkin. I probably didn't audition very well either. So I accepted that when I didn't get in, I probably wasn't ready. But I had to find a job while I waited to audition again. Anyway, my mate told me Royal Mail wanted postman. So I applied. And that was it. 21 years later, and here I am, stuck down a manhole. The first few years were a lot of fun. I've never minded 5 a.m. starts. I've always loved mornings. Though because I still do plays in the evening, I do keep having late nights. So I've started taking afternoon siestas to keep me going. Very continental. I didn't have a van then when I started. Just a bike. Oh, it was lovely in the summer, toddling down the lanes. I never had an accident on my bike, you'll be pleased to know. Though I did have several run-ins with animals. You know the cliché of dogs going for post people? Definitely based on fact. Mrs. Digby's Chihuahua. He was a nasty beggar. She opened her door and out he flew, crawled up my leg and bit me on the top of my leg, on my thigh. And Mrs. Digby, she just didn't care at all. No apology or anything. She didn't even stop him. Oh, I hate Chihuahuas. The husky dog was one of the strangest. You probably wouldn't believe this. It snowed once. Well, it snowed quite a few times over the years. I was doing my round on foot, and this husky dog had clearly gotten loose and followed me around the housing estate for the whole of the route. I didn't like the look of it very much. It kept snarling and giving me a funny eye. But I thought, well, it seems to be okay. It kept its distance, like it was making sure that I did my job properly. Then, the moment I made my final delivery, it ran up and bit me. Can you believe that? Maybe it thought it was congratulating me on a job well done. Well, thanks, Fido. There was a collie that bit me on the back of my leg when I delivered post at a farm. That was very painful. And then this Alsatian. It was coming home from a walk with its owner, and as I was leaving the front path after delivering the post, it charged across and bit me on the hand. The owner didn't have it on a lead. Can you imagine? I had to go to the doctors and get a tetanus jab. And antibiotics for that one. Bloody thing. I don't blame the dogs. I blame the owners. Still, the dogs were a darn sight friendlier than the cockerels. Yes. I don't know why, but they were insistent on chasing me. They always had such determined, evil looks in their eyes. This one little sod, well, it was a pretty big sod, really. It was scary. Well, it chased me round and round the farmhouse every time I visited. You could have set the Benny Hill music to it. Me running round the farmhouse with the cockerel chasing me. Eventually, I put in a complaint to my manager, who did speak to the farmer. The farmer said, "Oh, he's a randy old bugger, that one." He meant the cockerel, not me. "Tell him just to throw a brick at him." I thought, well, I haven't got a brick, have I? And where would I get one? Or should I just carry a brick with me every shift? I'm lucky I didn't end up with a phobia for animals after all these attacks. Mind you, I've never liked frogs and toads. If ever I saw one on a garden path, well, I just couldn't deliver to that house. Or I'd have to run right round the garden to get to the front door. I mean, I don't even like looking at them. Ugh, horrible. Oh, I think I've grazed my knee falling down that manhole. Of course, people are the most interesting aspect of the job. Interesting and sometimes scary. I mean, you'd get to meet all sorts on this job. Mrs. Beard was always one of my favourites, but so many of my deliverers would offer me tea and cake as well. Many a farmhouse I've been into and stayed there longer than I should. Thank goodness I was doing such an active job, which helped to keep me in such good shape. Once, when I got invited in for tea, we were happily sitting there chatting, when suddenly a bunny rabbit appeared from under the settee, and then another, all hopping around me. It gave me such a surprise. Luckily, I like rabbits. Having all these stops for coffee and cakes did sometimes come with a caveat, though. I used to deliver to a dowager duchess. Yes, very grand. We always had the nicest coffee. Gold top, absolutely delicious. But once, she was hosting a garden party, which Jane Seymour was going to open. The actress, that is, not Henry VIII's wife. She asked me to give her a hand setting up the tables. I really needed to get off, but after that lovely coffee, I couldn't really say no. So I spent over an hour in her garden setting up all these tables when I should have been delivering letters. I mean, I didn't mention that at the office when I got back, late. Mind you, there were some very unsavoury people. There was one, let's call him Mr. Creepy. Mr. Creepy looked a lot like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family, though he wasn't nearly as nice. We always used to try and sneak up to his house to deliver the letters, because if he caught you, you had to chat to him, and you could never get away. Well, he used to start coming out. He would stand by his gate. He would look into your eyes. He had these bloodshot eyes. He would say, "Hello, my dear. Come into my house. I got something to show you." And then I'd have to explain that I didn't have any time, and he'd say, "Oh, go on. It will only take a couple of minutes." He always reminded me of the child snatcher and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Well, the one time I couldn't find an excuse because he had to sign for something. So I had to go into his house for him to find a pen. He thought it would be a bit of fun, once we were in the house, to show me his shotgun. Proper proud of it he was too. "This'll stop the kids from trying to break in," he said with a weird look on his face. Now, I don't think that he would ever have actually shot anyone with it. He just wanted to scare them. It wasn't like the children would have broken into his house anyway. We're a nice, quiet village, and the kids are always so well behaved. And his house smelled really bad.
Bong, bong.
If you are enjoying Theatrephonic, come join us in the green room by becoming a patron. Just £2 a month will get you ad-free episodes. £5 a month and you will also have blooper reels, after-show question and answer sessions, the occasional bonus episode and exclusive Theatrephonic merch. Our £10 top tier also gives you the opportunity to attend a live play recording, as well as a chance to name a character in an episode. Head along to theatrephonic.com/Patreon for more information.
Bong, bong.
Hello? Hello? Oh. Maybe I should practice a bit of Shakespeare to pass the time. I've just finished a run of Hamlet with the local players. Loads of my fellow posties came along to watch. Now they keep launching into, "Alas, poor Pickle, I knew him well." See, they even got the quotation wrong. Oh, I wish I could see them now. Hello! If only I'd just skip this house. I do it by accident often enough. Then I wouldn't be in this pickle. Do you know, I'm terrible at posting letters in the wrong place. There was this bakery in the town which had an office next door to a betting shop. Now, the betting shop had the tiniest letterbox you've ever seen. Well, one day I was concentrating on learning lines for an up-and-coming show. I think Noises Off, I think it was. And I was posting all these letters through the betting shop letterbox. And I got most of the way through before I realised that I was posting the letters for the bakery into that letterbox. I mean, the bakery wasn't best pleased, as the betting shop wasn't open that day. And they had this lovely big letterbox too. So I spent all that time cramming letters through this tiny slot when I could have been on my way. Another time, I was being taught a new round. My mate said that he'd have to go to one house while I went to another, so he gave me this bundle of letters. I posted the entire bundle of letters through this one door, and then my mate shouted out that he'd given me the letters for the entire road, a section of the A38. Luckily, the owner of the house was happy to give them all back. He even invited me in for a cuppa. I thought that I'd better not, though. Hello! Oh, will no one ever come? Help! Oh, how long have I been here? Oh, do you know, this is probably the biggest shock I've had all the time as a postie. Even more than the animals and the crashes. Definitely not the most pleasant surprise I've had either. I once went round the corner of a house to deliver some letters. Now, these people, they didn't have a letterbox, so normally I would either give them their letters or put the letters on the doormat. Well, anyway, I went round the corner of the house, and there was the lady of the house lying on her front, topless. Luckily, I didn't see anything too shocking. But I did get all confused and just shouted, "Where do you want it?" And I cringed immediately. That was definitely the wrong thing to say. She just answered, "Oh, just throw them on the mat." Less enjoyable was when I rang the doorbell for a guy to sign for a parcel. He flings open the door, completely naked he was. Turns out he's a naturist. I mean, you'd hope they'd cover up for the postie, but no, I didn't know where to look. Far too early in the morning for that. Would I rather be back in front of that naked, ugly guy now, or here down in this manhole? That's a difficult choice. Oh, would you look at that sky? Oh, I do love sunsets in the autumn. I'd have thought someone would have come looking for me by now. I mean, I should have been back in the yard ages ago. Someone should have come across me at least. Hello? Hello? Well, at least this helps confirm my decision. I'm quitting, you see. I'm sick of the way that we're being treated now. The conditions are terrible. Everything is shifted to profits. We've gone on strike, picketed, waved the signs about, but nothing has changed. Nothing. I mean, they expect us to complete routes that are double the size, and they want us to do it in half the time. They want us to do overtime without pay, and management does nothing to support us at all. They've even changed the timing system. When I started, someone would come with you to test and record the time of your route, seeing how many letters you have, each garden path's length, and all of that. Now, it's all done by computer. I mean, they don't take into account how we get more tired throughout the week. That old tricky gate you struggle to open, the randy cockerels, or all the people who want to stop and have a chat. Computers do not understand what the life of a postie is really like. Our current manager is the worst. Oh, she's horrid. Belittles us, shouts at us, and never listens. Or the younger staff, well, they're too scared to say anything officially. They all moan and groan and fill in surveys to say that they feel harassed and bullied. But nothing is ever done, and no one wants to stand up and potentially lose their jobs. I mean, they have got families to support and all, I must admit. But I don't care anymore. I've got nothing to lose. Yesterday, I lost my rag and stormed into her office. I said some terrible things that I can't really repeat to anyone else. I would have felt guilty about it, but her reaction just proved my case. Well, it's up to you if you want to stay. So I quit. This is my final shift. Oh, that may be why no one's come looking for me. Maybe they think I've just left, taken the van with me. Hello? That would be like when I was driving in the snow. Yes, another snow story. And another van crash story. I was going down this long drive, and another car was coming the other way. Well, he wasn't stopping, and I was going downhill, so I struggled to slow down and ended up going into him. We were in the middle of nowhere, and it took them hours to realise that I hadn't returned. Oh, I hope it doesn't take them hours this time. I'm hungry. Still, I've got exciting things ahead of me. I've been accepted into drama school. I'm going to the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School in a few weeks' time. Get that. Lots of good things ahead. Assuming I get out of this hole. Hello? Hello? Help! Hello?
You have been listening to In a Pickle, written and directed by Emmeline Braefield, based on the life experiences of Anthony Young, starring Anthony Young as Pickle. Produced by Cat on a Piano Productions. For a full list of the music used in the episode, please see the show notes. The Theatrephonic theme tune was composed by Jackson Pentland, performed by Jackson Pentland, Mollie Fyfe-Taylor, and Emmeline Braefield. For more information about the Theatrephonic podcast, go to theatrephonic.com, tweet or Instagram us at Theatrephonic, or visit our Facebook page. If you enjoy Theatrephonic and would like to get more content, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Theatrephonic. Please don't forget to rate and review. Thank you for listening.